All right, guys, good to see you again. So, we're back doing a video a week. This is a manuscript I've been writing for a book that I'm considering. I have a bunch of stuff that I like to share with you, and this paper that I've been writing has surprised me with what it is that has come out of me. This is stuff I've almost never thought about before as far as in detail, but something I've always felt. And it's very strange how it came out of me. Now, this is probably new territory that a lot of religions and philosophies haven't really put together. At least I've never seen any of it anywhere. I've done a lot of reading in these topics, and I would like to share it with you and give it to you for you to digest. I may not keep this video up for long. I have some suspicions what some of this information could do if it were to get out in any substantial way at this moment. But it is interesting, this being some ideas that are kind of going into new territory. I also think that this is a proper setting. This is a piece of land that I'm out here clearing, new territory. And it's a nice view back there, a bunch of trees still in the way, but there's a nice valley with a mountain view, and you can really see a lot of beautiful parts of Tennessee here. So maybe it's fitting or poetic, I guess. But I want to share with you this paper. I'll begin reading. It's not well editorialized, so bear with me if any of it's hard to read or something like that, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So the topic of this in this part of the manuscript is what are the possibilities of existence, and kind of what is the underlying meaning and purpose of existence as humans, as the universe, and everything. Why are we here? I think I've got a little bit of a grasp on this that I think is worth sharing. So I guess you could say this is the answer to the biggest questions that there are. All right. What is the possibilities of existence? This set of ideas may be a revolutionary revelation. What do they mean, and what are the questions of these observations? The first may be, this all seems to be a prison for a demented, masochistic deity, one who wishes to draw out pain and suffering on all of his creation as a cosmic boredom of a being who in his loneliness is lashing out. This is not the case. We must start at the beginning, which really is not a beginning, but a state. Before creation, there was no creator. There could only be a source of being. This source or single existence had all that was and all that would ever be in it. Basic essence, the all. This all-being source had all predetermined due to its definitions. It only existed through definitions of posing and opposing. To be a source of all, there must be a contrast to allow for its existence. To be and not to be. The yin and the yang is a great example of this. First, to exist, a white must appear against a black. Then, in order for existence to stay stable, a black must appear in the white. If the black did not appear within the white and only a white existed in the black, nothing would have changed within non-existence. This static state of white within black is no different than simply black, if static. But this also is impossible, because once the white is observed, the next logical observation will be made without option, which is that a black will now also be seen within the white. From the observation of nothingness comes something, and from the perspective of somethingness, back again an observation of definition of nothingness. The next, most importantly, that there is now not just one, but two, an inverse of the other appears, and now an interplay can begin, where the edges begin to form, hence a circle, and the yin-yang showing circle and interplay. These are the beginning building blocks of existence and of God. The act of existing is God. For non-existence to truly be would be for there to be no God. Some might say God can be outside of existence, but for non-existence to truly be there could be no God, for he is the all, which would consume and be dragged into the definition of being a part of God and the part of existence. This very act of existing causes for non-existence to be impossible. Following this train of thought, another problem arises: death through static non-definition. If, let's say, within the black becomes a white, but instead of a black then appearing within the white, another white simply came into the black, you have simply accomplished nothing. You have attempted to bring another existence into contrast the non-existence, but the two existences are simply one. Contrasting on non-existence, you have effectively changed nothing. Adding another white existence, you still have existence and non-existence only. 3 to 1 is still the same. You are trying to repeatedly showcase the definition of existence and non-existence. The first has accomplished this, the first white. Asexual breeding strategy is not prosperous. This will devolve if you just keep pushing for more white within the black. You must continually add non-existence back into the fold of existence in order to build structure, or else you will end up with a mono-uniform of white and black. You must have something to measure against, or all will simply dissolve back into only two, white and black. So first black, then white, contrasting the black, then black within the white, and white within the black. Now contrast and mirroring exist, a crucial step. Once mirrored, a new phenomenon emerges, where before a contrast separated the two, now the mirror creates edges all around, showing to existence a duality. But this did not happen as a step by step. It was preordained. It could only happen this way in a stable way. To do any other way would collapse into monotony and back to only one. The act of being is a defining act of others. To have existence must mean non-existence, which means also there is only existence. This is circular, hence the circle of yin-yang. Now circles are irrational and never come to an end. This is where growth and fractal patterns begin. The never-ending curve, a spiral, depth. From this depth, time, a movement in existence, a measure of what was and what is. Now a future appears, and now a pattern that is unstoppable and inevitable. The circle is infinite and never repeating. This creates a spiral that provides depth. The depth is what gives novelty and implies eternity. People think if you follow a circle, you end up back where you were. But mathematically, you never end up back where you are. You come back close to where you were with a greater perspective every lap. Existence must be. Existence must build off of the pattern. This is where complexity comes from, and existence in This is where complexity comes from, and existence in a non-uniform way. The cycle repeats, and mirroring builds inverse of a whole pattern, from growing to shrinking, circles in circles, the flower of life. All of this is God and is his and all's experience. All patterns that do not build off what is and simply repeat without mirroring and mixing, but only add, dissolve into a static noise that collapses back to the singularity that they are. To hold is death, but to change and add new is life. Death and end of redundancy is needed for the pattern to unfold. To jump ahead in this process, we can look at the most basic forms we understand of the universe. At this time, we know of subatomic particles. These small building blocks are numbered and simple. But if they simply existed separate from one another and not pair in various ways, life as we know it could not exist. It is through their various combinations they create patterns that together create what we call atoms. By extension, these atoms pair to one another in various patterns that then create elements. All combinations are made and only stable versions survive to create building blocks of the universe, which is swirling around one another as a mirror, which then spiral. This is the as above, so below principle. Now, in this process, a key feature is noticed that begins to disturb most conscious beings. The observation of good and evil. All that is good remains stable against all else and allows for the perpetual growth of the pattern, whereas all that is repetitive and does not pair with other new possible combinations attempts to remain the same and replicate itself in a repeating pattern that dissolves into noise and collapses back into its singular original definition. This is evil. If allowed to grow in its repeating pattern unchecked, it would consume resources and drown out the signal of all the rest of the pattern and collapse everything back into its original state of non-existence. Not only can this be unallowed, but it cannot happen. The pattern will go on, the repeating noise will simply fall off the edges and render themselves null. This is the vine being burned or pruned by the gardener. This is where the question comes to light that has been asked for millennia. If God is good and the creator of all, how can he allow for evil to exist? The answer is he simply let it die off. He let the noise drown itself. But how could children in the world be allowed to suffer and die in wars, you might say? Have you not paid attention? God is all. Every evil that occurs is a part of himself. Every good that has occurred is a part of himself. All is God. When a child suffers, it is a part of the very self that is suffering. It is a part of God's very self that is suffering. An end and a pruning of himself. Do you not realize that all pain that is felt in consciousness is also felt by God himself? Would you call God cruel when in his act of creating, he is also taking the full burden of all pain that also existed on himself as well? All for the purpose that those who could experience joy might feel it as well. God is both feeling and experiencing all pain and joy. He is not exempt from it. This is not a masochistic, cruel creator that is exempt from pain and only experiencing joy. He is making a sacrifice of experiencing all pain that has ever been or will be so that all joy and happiness might exist as well. This is not selfishness. This is sacrifice for you, for me, for all, for himself. Could you take on this ultimate pain and suffering for the joy of all to exist? This is where our thanks and gratitude must be expressed. Thank God. Amen. All right, so that's one portion of what I've been working on. There's a lot more that I would like to share, but at this point, I just want to get a little bit of insights from you guys who have been watching some of my videos. And it's not a matter of if I don't think this is true. It's a matter of I would like to hear what it is that you guys have questions about. And if there's something I'm leaving out that you can ask, and then I can take that feedback and refine what I'm saying. There's a lot more, but I think that that's a good slice of the set of ideas I'm working on. a good synopsis. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all, and have a good one.